What's good, everyone, and welcome back to the Water Boys channel. As I'm going to give you my second reaction, not an instant reaction, because you guys caught that last night. And if you didn't, please sure to check it down below. But I'm going to give you another reaction of the Chiefs defeating the Chargers 34-28. This will be kind of, basically a realistic expectation, what people should be feeling, how they should be feeling on both teams, honestly, on the Chiefs and Chargers, and fully more on the Chiefs and if they are back, definitely from a Chiefs perspective, but I'm going to give you a realistic Chiefs perspective on it as well. But before we do dive into any of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, as I will keep you up to date on all the latest NFL news, NFL rumors, mostly to do with the Chiefs, but I will be full on worldwide with all 32 teams, so you do not want to miss out on any of that. Without further ado, let's dive right in. So, as most of us do know, that the Chiefs did go into LA last night and defeat the Chargers 34-28. And I'm not going to go too much into a reaction or a recap of it. If you do want to check that out, like I mentioned, it will be in my story log. It will be listed down below as well to see the initial reaction. You can go check that out. Mostly this will be my take on what the media will say about the Chiefs and on how we should really view the Chiefs. And right now, I view the media doing either sticking to their guns, which I will point as well, because a lot of media don't believe the Chiefs are back, so I'll go with that side as well. And then a lot of them backtracking, saying this is a team we wanted. But first, I'm going to go with the ones that are going to be sticking to their guns. And I guess you can give them reason to stick to their guns, but this will be a lot of what you're going to hear today. And it will be, why should we be impressed with KC? Look what they did through the first three quarters. Mahomes was struggling throughout the game. Terrible incomplete passes, had a terrible interception, a terrible fumble. A lot of media personality is going to stick with that because they don't want to see the Chiefs win and they don't want to see the Chiefs shine. So they're going to find out any little negative to say the Chiefs aren't back. They're going to struggle if they do this in the playoffs and they won't succeed whatsoever, even though they did it against one of the top AFC opponents. One of the top AFC quarterbacks went pound for pound, slug for slug in a great competition. They're not going to give them their due in the fourth quarter. They're going to focus on the first three quarters where they did struggle. And to be fair, they did struggle. Mahomes did not look like himself, and it was worrisome at times, but he went vintage Mahomes. And I'm going to get to that as well, because that's going to be the focus point I'm going to focus on a lot as well. And then you're going to get the media personality who does the backtracking, and you're going to get a lot of it today, because this is the game they wanted to see. They wanted to see it against a top-tier offense, a top-tier team. They wanted to see that offense spark and click back together, which I don't know. I mean, I've believed in the Chiefs for a few weeks now, and I mostly believed in them because their their defense, but their offense has been clicking the last couple of weeks. I wanted to see it too as well against the Chargers, because we've seen it against the Raiders like year in and year out. So I wanted to see it against a likely opponent that was good in the Chargers, and we saw it, even though it was one quarter of a glimpse and a little bit in the first two as well. But Chiefs fans know, when you see it, when you see the Chiefs start a game, they always have they have the best scripted 15 plays. Then afterwards, I do not know what happens, and they stall out completely. I would like to see a huge adjustment after that. I'd keep on scoring. I don't get what happens after the first 15 plays, but we need consistency. Definitely when it becomes this stretch in December and January, you're going to get the harder opponents. Like I said, their schedule is very beatable. They can beat the Steelers, Bengals, and Broncos, but those are also teams above 500 as well. So don't be surprised if the Chiefs don't click and it's a much tougher game than it needs to be. Definitely if they're not excelling after the first 15, or if that offense isn't looking like vintage Mahomes back in the fourth quarter as well, they can struggle as well. So I wouldn't be surprised with that, even though I'd book them down for a W. But yes, there will be a lot of backtracking today, which will kind of bother me in a sense, because this team has been legit. Just because it's not the offense you're used to seeing, it's still a good offense. Like I mentioned in my preview with Tim, Mahomes did what I told you he was going to do. He's over 4,000 yards now. He has 30 touchdowns now. Yes, he added another interception, and this one was on him. It was a bad one. But at that, too, as well, Herbert has as many turnovers as well. These top quarterbacks are turning over the ball, not like your Rodgers, but Brady's been turning over the ball, like Burrow's up there as well. Quarterbacks are turning over the ball, and I think what's happening this year as well It's a passing league. So the more passes you throw, yes, the more interceptions are going to happen as well. And like I said, and like everyone knows, and they need to focus on as well. More than half of Mahomes' interceptions have been tip balls and not on him. And these have been 2 weeks in a row where I love seeing. I don't think there was another drop ball as well. These receivers are finally getting going at the right time, and you love to see it, definitely, if you're a Chiefs fan. Let's keep that rolling through December. Let's keep that rolling through the playoffs, because that will be your huge stretch to succeed. Now, my take on it is, are the Chiefs back? I don't think they've ever left. But do I feel like you should be scared now? Yes, I really feel like the whole league, this was an on notice game as well. Because when I was watching the game, like, it was always a manageable, doable game. But here's why this was the Chiefs putting the league on notice. It reminded you way too much of that playoff stretch of when KC trailed, they came back, Mahomes went in God mode and took over. And we've been waiting to see it again, and it's here now. And you just saw the energy on the team as well. Definitely on Mahomes. Like, he felt like, oh, this is me. I'm back. I'm slinging the ball. Nothing can stop me. And they can't. When he has confidence like that, and when Hill and Kelsey be balling out like that, nobody could stop this team. And yeah, it was worrisome for the first 3 quarters, but also the highest deficit of margin was an 8-point game. KC was always in this game. And when fourth quarter came, that was what we were used to seeing. We saw it against the Texans. We saw it against the Titans. We saw it against the Niners. We saw it against the Browns this year as well. This team is known for that, and that's what makes them scary, and that's what would put the league on notice as well. And here's a lot the media will take as well, is the Chargers gave the Chiefs this game. And yeah, you can put it in that perspective as well, but the Chiefs knew who they were going against with Brandon Staley and the Chargers. They do go for it on fourth down a lot. And it's not just against the Chiefs, it's against everyone. He's an aggressive coach, and there's nothing wrong with that. When you got an offense like that, when you got Herbert controlling everything that magnificently, and you need him just to pick a yard or two, I'm doing it too. I wish Mahomes and Reed would do it more, honestly, because imagine how many points they'd be putting on the board. But again, they played the more conservative route. They played the more analytical route, and it's been working so far this year, so I won't complain. But I'd love to see Mahomes and Reed be like a Staley and Herbert, because that aggressiveness is what, like, builds a team and keeps the locker room and fans together. Not saying the Chiefs don't have that, because they've been having that for a few years, but for a young team like that to turn an organization around and go into playoffs, that's something that Charger team need, and definitely to build a fan base as well, because that's what they be struggling in LA a lot to do. And so a lot of, like, the Skip Baylesses, maybe the Stephen A's and things like that, they're going to overshadow this for the Chiefs and be like, if they left, like, let's say, initially I want to say they left like 20 points on the board for the Chargers, but it's not even that either, because I want to say it's probably around the 13 range, maybe even 9, because it's definitely 3 field goals and 1 touchdown, because when Kelly fumbled there. But I don't even want to give him that as well, because if you think about it, yeah, Kelly did fumble right there. But 2 plays later, Mahomes turned the ball over as well. So they got the touchdown they were going to get anyway. So I'm not going to say that turnover was going to add in a touchdown, because if they score the touchdown, they're kicking off, and then the Chiefs have a different drive. But the Chiefs were backed up. Mahomes throws a stupid little screen pass, and it ends up being intercepted. So I'm not. Everyone's gonna say the Chargers should have scored around 20 points. No, take that touchdown out. They would have scored. They left like 9 or 13 points on the board, and yeah, that happens in these type of games as well. But Chiefs are also not getting credit for those defensive stops. Like, they weren't just like the Chargers messing up, besides on one when Jared Cook dropped it when it hung on his head. But as well, it was a situation between Herbert and Cook as well. Herbert didn't put it in the perfect spot, or that would have been a touchdown, and end up being dropped, and Cook could have made a play on it. I'm not going to lie. Like, if he holds on to it, even if it was that high, you just got to take 2 steps and you're in the end zone. So, yeah, they left that point on the board. But as well, Bolton made a fantastic play on Cook on 4th and 2. Let's not overshadow that as well. And then Sorensen, who we've been going against all year, but it's like these last 4 weeks, He's like, this is the Sorensen I love to see. I don't need to see him spectacular, but I don't need to see him being garbage either. Sorensen's always known for making one play a game, and that's the Sorensen we're getting again, and I love to see it. And he made a fantastic read on Herbert. Like, he didn't blitz too hard, but he didn't back up in coverage too much. He just played a spy, and he's like, make your throw, I will deflect this. And that's what he did. It's not like the Chargers dropped easy 2-point conversions. There was only one, fourth down conversions. There was only one of them. And the Chiefs capitalized on it. And of course, the other touchdown, which I don't want to go too much into because that was a scary situation. And that should have been a touchdown. But unfortunately, Donald Fulgham. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, but yeah, like he hit his head so hard that it concussed him and knocked him out, and he dropped it. And it's unfortunate, but that's what happened. But as well too, that was a fourth down. That's where I say the 9 comes in because that was 3 field goals. Like they could easily have 9 on the board. So I'll leave that be. But again, what they're not also playing a factor too, and what's not going to get a lot of credit, which should, like, because the Chiefs gave up 28 points, and what I mentioned in my reaction as well is they were still missing the lights of Willie Gay, Chris Jones, and L'Jarius Sneed. And the Chargers capitalized immensely on it. All the Chargers did all night, and that was also another thing they failed to do down the stretch, is they ran up the gut on KC. They knew Jones was missing, and they saw it hurting because they almost had over 200 yards rushing. And they stopped in the fourth quarter because they wanted to duel with the gunslinger, with their own gunslinger, and you live by the bullet, you die by the bullet. And that's what Mahomes did. He shot his shot. And if Chargers would have been more game managing mode, they could have easily won this game. But I get it. Brandon Staley's an aggressive coach. But as well, if the Chiefs were to play again, I do think this would be a different game against the Chargers. Definitely if the Chiefs are at full strength, because that defense, yeah, they allowed 28 points, but also, too, most of those touchdowns were off of turnovers again, where KC gave the defense a hard field to battle because it was in already Chargers territory. Like, Chargers rarely had to work with a long field, and when they did, the defense did their job. And also, I want to mention a huge star in the making as well, and that is Nick Bolton. He needs to see the field more, like, not just when a Hitchens is hurt, not just when a Willie Gay is hurt. He needs to be on the field. He only has 62% of the snaps on defense, and he's already over 100 tackles. Imagine next year when he becomes a full-on starter, he could be pushing that 200 tackles. He is a beast too. And like I said, Bolton had that clutch fourth down stop as well. People insult him because he's not good at coveraging, but it looks like it's a game he is perfecting in his craft, and he looks really well, and he looks like a stud in the making. I love seeing him play. Like, we need to stop hating on him and stop hating on him just for being a run stuffer. He is an all-around linebacker. He is a great player. Now, I'm going to dive into how this wraps up, and I did in my reaction as well on where I see this proceeding in the future, and I'll dive for both teams as well, and I'm going to basically have the same take as I had in my reaction and in my preview, and that's these teams are going to sweep out, and if that happens to lights, it just depends on what other teams do out, and Chargers might easily be the 5 seed. They'll be your best wild card, I believe. And then you'll have New England and Buffalo fighting for the division. It looks like Buffalo could win out. And New England has a hard task against the Colts. And as hopeful as I am the Colts to win, I really do believe the Colts will win this game, which will keep KC as the number 1 seed. I just like how the Colts play. They got a better defense, and they got a great running game to manage the game. And as well, it's an Indy. Now, my next game where I'm hopeful, but I don't know if I'll believe it, but I'll cross my fingers, I will pray, is the Steelers taking on the Tennessee Titans. Now, it can be very likely because Tennessee hasn't been playing to their top strength, even without a Derrick Henry. The receivers have been banged up. Tannehill's been throwing more interceptions. It's just, you've heard me on this channel all year long. I don't believe in the Steelers. I do not like the way Big Ben plays. They play sloppy football. We've seen it last week when Chase Claypool was doing his little dance and things like that. Like, they don't seem professional right now, and they just don't seem like a playoff team. But if I want you to take one game, I need it to be this one, and KC will be your number 1 seed. And Chargers are going to be a scary team as well. And that's why I'd love for KC to get the number 1 seed, because if it's a wild card spot, that's where it gets scary. Like, I think KC can beat anyone at their best game, but I feel like they'd go against the Colts or a Chargers team. And that's not a matchup I want to see right out the gate. And those are the two teams I'm most afraid of in the playoffs. And I do think they'll beat them, but I think those will be the games where, like, KC won't beat them easily. Like, anyone else, I think could be a double-digit win against these teams. It's going to be iffy, but that's where the Chiefs got to show their championship swagger. Definitely in January, prove they are trying to get back to their third straight Super Bowl, their fourth straight AFC conference game, and avenge the title. Get the title back in Kansas City. I hope it would be against Tampa Bay, but I don't know. Green Bay looks strong this year. The Rams look strong again. The Cardinals look strong again. NFC is loaded. AFC is getting there as well. This is going to be a fun race, you guys. I will keep you up to date again on all the latest NFL news and NFL rumors and all the Chiefs reports as well. Let me know down below who's going to be your number one seed in the AFC and your number one seed in the NFC. And without further ado, you guys take care. Enjoy your weekend. I am taking out.